Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people. Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people. Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
In solidarity with Palestine and calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. We're here in central London. In the distance you can see the towers of the Houses of Parliament. We're at Piccadilly Circus, right in the centre of the heart of London. And this demonstration is building up now. Up until yesterday afternoon with the police, who have been insisting on a later start time. The start time that was publicised was 12 noon. They were insisting a kick-off at 12:30. That's now been agreed that while we assemble at 12 noon here, we're going to march at 1:30 to the Israeli embassy in Knightsbridge. So we're going to find out a bit more about why people have been coming again, once more, onto the streets in large numbers. And you can see this is going to be a sizable demonstration once more in solidarity with the people of Palestine. Let me just walk over this way. There's a contingent from Bristol. I'd like to talk. Here's a face I recognise. Tom Whitaker, hi. You've come down from Bristol today. How many people have come down?
Our coach sold out on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and really we should have booked another one because it was rammed full, and all the National Express coaches and megabuses out of Bristol are full up this morning as well, because people were on the WhatsApp groups, people were booking National Express and megabus. I think the row with the Metropolitan Police has increased people's determination to be on this march today. So we've got a good Bristol contingent, very good Bristol contingent, as we have for almost all the national marches. I think we've taken coaches to 17 out of 18 of the national marches. So.
And you're from Bristol Stop the War, because you're carrying Bristol Stop the War banner.
I am a member of Bristol Stop the War, yeah.
And there's no sign of people getting tired of demonstrating, is there?
No, I think until Netanyahu stops his genocide and horrible violence, we're just going to see people coming out in disgust and standing against it.
And Tom, tell us about the makeup of the coalition which exists in Bristol in solidarity with Palestine.
I think Bristol's had a very big and broad coalition in support of Palestine from last October. You know, Muslim groups, Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Stop the War, the trade unions. We've had quite a lot of support from student groups as well, and it's just become a cause célèbre for people across the movement. And there's a real determination to be part of a national movement amongst people in Bristol. They really appreciate coming to London and joining with others. And we'll be going to Liverpool in 2 weeks' time. We know there's a national demonstration coming up in Liverpool as well.
Outside the Labour Party conference?
Outside of the Labour Party conference, and that will be the first national demo outside of London for Palestine since October. And the Bristol coalition, we're all keen to get to Liverpool as well for that. So it's been an inspiring movement to be part of.
Tom Whitaker from Bristol, thank you very much indeed. That shows you the kind of solidarity we have. There's another group over here that I really want to talk to, which is, I don't know if we can get, well, let's go over to a banner over there, which is really interesting. And as we can see, here's a banner from Holocaust survivor Descendants Against Gaza Genocide. I don't know if there's someone who would like to talk to us from the group. Of course, the greatest crime in history. Do you want to see if someone had prepared? Hi, good to see you. There's a whole
Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel. The National Qira'ah competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head-to-head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the XL Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qira'ah champion, only on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater, a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of
We're now joined by, as you can read from his placard, this son of a Holocaust survivor is against the Gaza genocide. Can I just ask you, can you tell me what happened to your father in the Shoah, in the genocide?
Well, both my parents survived Auschwitz. So they were for years in a ghetto, and then they were taken to Auschwitz, and they survived.
When you see Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and these people in the Israeli government justifying what's happened in Gaza, does that have resonance for you?
Of course, these people are not Jews. They are the worst kind of anti-Semites. They are hateful, they are racist, they are genocidal. They behave like no Jew should ever behave, or no Jew has behaved like this in 2,000 years of Judaism. This is totally un-Jewish, anti-Semitic.
I mean, it's an interesting point because many Orthodox Jews who are opposed to Zionism make that point, that this is not part of the Torah, it's not part of the Jewish religion.
It is a rejection of the Torah. It's a rejection of everything that the Jewish community in Europe and in the Arab world has experienced for 2,000 years. Jews were never part of genocide. They were victims of genocide. So this is nothing to do with us.
And just commenting on that, I mean, for centuries, Jews lived in places like Baghdad with Arabs, with Muslims, in relative harmony.
Actually, for millennia, for 2,700 years, Jews lived in the Arab East. For about 800 years, Jews lived in Al-Andalus in Spain in total harmony with Christians and with Muslims. In Palestine, for 2,000 years, Jews lived there with Christians and Muslims in peace, in justice. The beginning of Zionism destroyed that life together, what we call convivencia, life together.
And one last question. We've seen over the last week significant demonstrations and a one-day strike in Israel. How significant do you think that is?
Well, they are significant for Netanyahu. They're not significant for us. We are against what is happening in Gaza. The Israelis are united against the Palestinians. They are united behind the genocide. This is terrible. Those demonstrations you are talking about are led by brothers in arms, and the pilots that actually kill children in Gaza every day are actually leading the demonstrations against Netanyahu. They have nothing to do with us, and we have nothing to do with those demonstrators because they do not care about the life of one Palestinian. They are united in hate.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We're now going to go over to speak to Ben Jamal. So we're going to go over. So we're crossing Regent Street, and we're going to be talking to the CEO of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. I'm looking for Ben Jamal, who is Where is Ben Jamal? One of them. Here he is over here. So we're going to join the queue to speak to Ben Jamal, and you can see here the Palestine Solidarity Campaign stall doing good business, selling kafirs, Palestine flags, many other things here, tote bags with a Palestine flag with a kafir, and so many stalls over there. British Palestine Forum in Britain over there again, also doing good business. Stop the War Coalition. I mean, 11 months into this, okay, now we're lucky to be joined by Ben Jamal, the CEO of the Palestine Solidarity Camp. Ben, can I ask you this? The narrative we're getting from the US, the UK and everyone else is that there's no ceasefire in Gaza because Hamas reject the ceasefire. That is a blatant lie, isn't it? It's Netanyahu who's rejecting the ceasefire.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know why people don't actually listen to what Netanyahu says consistently, what the rest of his government says consistently, particularly his far-right coalition partners. They will not accept any ceasefire unless on their terms, which are completely unacceptable because their terms involve the complete full military occupation of Gaza. Gaza is already under occupation, was before October, but they intend to put permanent troops back in Gaza. So it's Netanyahu who's making clear he will not accept a ceasefire, and the reason he's able to do that is because our government and the US government refuse to impose meaningful pressure on him. We have had a step this week, the suspension of 10% of the licenses used to sell weapons to Israel, but it's totally inadequate. The government has done that under pressure of this movement because it's been forced to admit those weapons may be used in violations of international law. But despite that admission, it's saying, but we're going to continue to sell other weapons to Israel, including extraordinarily F-35 jet components. This week, NGOs made it clear there was full evidence that F-35 jets were used to commit a massacre against Palestinians in July in Al-Mawasi. 90 Palestinians killed, over 300 injured. So we're calling for a full arms embargo.
Now, Sir Keir Starmer promised before he was elected they would publish the legal advice that the British government had about these arms sales. Yeah. Where is it?
I know, we haven't seen the publication, but look, what the government's been forced to do is to say, well, we have to suspend these licenses because there is evidence, there is legal advice that meets the threshold that they could be used in violations of international law. Well, then how does that not apply to the other weapons that they're selling? And how on earth can it not apply, as I said, to components for F-35 jets that have been verified? I've not heard the government deny it, the evidence that these were used to commit a massacre in Al-Mawasi in July. So we have to keep the pressure up for a full arms embargo.
Now, can I ask you this? I mean, it'd be wrong to focus on one death of a Westerner, given what's happening in Gaza and the West Bank. But this week we have seen the death, the killing by the IDF of a US citizen, Turkish US citizen. I might be wrong, but I haven't heard a word of condemnation from the US administration about this.
No, and we have had a very robust condemnation from the leader of Turkey. This, as I understand, is a dual Turkish-US citizen. Not a word of condemnation. I think mealy-mouthed words saying we look for Israel to investigate. We know the pattern. This is not the first time that US citizens, UK citizens, have been killed by Israeli forces, and each time we say, well, they'll investigate. Every lesson from history is Israel does not conduct proper investigations and does not take action against those who commit these murders. So this is disgraceful. This is a message that the US people should be picking up. Why do they think it's acceptable for a so-called ally to commit murders of US citizens?
Now, this week we've seen in Israel significant demonstrations of a one-day general strike. We were just talking to an Israeli Holocaust, a son of a Holocaust survivor, who was saying that, of course, it's good that that's creating pressure on the Netanyahu government, but this is not about opposition to the Holocaust in Gaza, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, look, it is opposition to Netanyahu. It's part of the opposition to the reforms he was proposing to make some time ago that led to huge demonstrations that affect the democratic rights of Jewish citizens of Israel. At the time those demonstrations were happening, we made the point that for Palestinian citizens of Israel, Israel's never been a democracy, and that those protests were not about defending their rights. The current protests are calling for a ceasefire, and they're dominated by the pressure to say we must have the hostages released as a priority. They are not about opposition to the genocidal assault upon the Palestinian people, and this is a problem at the moment. There is a widespread endorsement of Israel's actions across Israeli society. Those opposing that, unfortunately, are at the fringes of Israeli society. There is a reason for that Israel is not being made to pay the cost of its action. If the rest of the world were imposing sanctions on Israel, if Israeli citizens were facing isolation, were facing economic costs to the actions of their government, then we'd have more internal pressure inside Israel.
No, one other mantra we get is all the time is that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Begs the question why Egypt and Saudi Arabia aren't democracies, but leaving aside the occupied West Bank and Gaza, where clearly Palestinians don't have citizenship in any sense. Yeah. Palestinians inside 1967 Israel are also second-class citizens and have been treated as such since 1948. It's not a democratic state in that sense.
It's never been a democratic state for Palestinian citizens of the state. I mean, remember, from 1948 to 1967, Palestinian citizens of Israel lived under martial law.
The same martial laws we have in West Bank now.
Same martial law, so they were treated...
Can I just interject? British, inherited from the British.
Inherited from the British. And since that time, since that was lifted, they have been second-class citizens, subject to Israeli civil rights organisations have identified 50 or more laws that specifically discriminate against Palestinian citizens, including laws, for example, that say towns of a certain size in Israel, up to 1,000, have the right to make sure that no Palestinian citizens can move into those towns on the basis that they would disrupt the social and cultural harmony of the town. Think about that. That's equivalent to, for example, having a law that says in Peckham, only white citizens of the UK could live there. Now, if we had a law like that, but allowed black and minority ethnic citizens to vote, but they can never overturn that law, would we say that the UK was a democracy? I think we'd say no. It would be an apartheid state discriminating against the body of its citizens. Israel should be treated in exactly the same way.
And one last question. We had tremendous hassle with the police who were trying to enforce a start time, not of 12, as you wanted, of 2:30. That's been resolved, but it just seems there's an endless difficulties in getting these marches set up and organised.
We've had a constant process of disruption. This week was even more extraordinary. This attempt to push back the start time by 2.5 hours, despite the fact we'd advertised this for weeks with the agreement of the police, and tens of thousands of people have booked their transport, the times they were going to go home afterwards. There are people travelling from all over the country. So it was a deliberate attempt to cause disruption. Under the pressure of the movement, this was lifted yesterday at the 11th hour, which demonstrated there was no good reason to impose it in the first place. But there's a reason. There's a reason why the police were forced to lift this, because we're not marching in our thousands or even in our tens of thousands. People have been marching in hundreds of thousands. And that gave us the strength and the force to say, you will be disrupting the rights of hundreds of thousands of people who will arrive in London, whatever repressive measures you put in place, to march. They're doing so today in continuing solidarity with the people of Palestine.
Ben Jamal, thank you very much. And we can see the numbers are here today despite that. Thank you very much, Ben Jamal. Right, we're going to take a walk into the crowd and have a look around who's here. Maybe try and talk to some of the demonstrators, the people who have been coming here. Again, the Palestine Solidarity is still doing great business. People selling jewellery, stop the war. Let's find out if there's more people here. And I saw a group, I'm looking to see. And here's a fantastic placard. I think we need to get that. That's a message which resonates. Thank you very much. Can I ask you, where have you come from today? Where have you come from today?
I come from Bristol.
From Bristol as well. More from this fantastic Bristol contingent. And this is your daughter? No? Your sister?
Friend, yeah.
A friend. What a great message. I presume one of you is the mother. Here's one of you as the mother. What a fantastic placard. What a wonderful placard. Can I congratulate you and your daughter?
She came up with this now and she has just written it.
It says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does, yeah, because we've just calculated the number of children killed in Gaza, and they are how many times the size of your school?
36.
36 the size of Mariam's school, which is a very big school, and it's a chilling number to think of.
Well, thank you very much for coming all the way from Bristol today, and thank you for that show.
You're welcome, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Well, look out for yourself at Islam Channel. That's fantastic. It really sums up what we're about here. Can I ask you where you've come from today?
I'm also come from Bristol.
You're another Bristolian.
Yeah, there's good stuff in Bristol.
You too?
Yeah, we've all come up on the coach together. We had a full coach coming up. Some people, the coach tickets sold out. Some people had to get here via other means, on the megabus, the Flixbus, the trains, but we had to be here today.
That's fantastic. And it seems to me you've got a very strong coalition in Bristol.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people in lots of different organisations that knows that the genocide in Palestine is just horrendous. We really have to keep on with this fight as long as we possibly can, because people are dying, and that's our government is complicit in that with these sales to Israel of arms.
And can you just tell me, apart from joining the demonstrations here in London, what have you been doing in Bristol itself?
We also do demos in Bristol. When we're not coming to the national demos, we have the demos in Bristol as well. On a Friday evening also there's a candlelit vigil in town, so there's lots of things going on in Bristol. We had Massive Attack playing a couple of weeks ago. The backdrop to their performance was all photography from Gaza and the West Bank. They also had Motaz came out before Massive Attack started their performance, and he addressed the crowd. So Bristol is
at the centre of things, and it's great to see you here today. And it's great that not only one coach, but people come by train, by express coach.
On the bus today, I came on the National Express.
You made your own way here?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wasn't going to miss this.
Well done. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us again. As more voices from Bristol coming through here, you can really feel this demonstration is building up, and I think you also get a sense of the determination. We're now 11 months since this beginning of this genocide in Gaza, and yet people are coming out in the hundreds of thousands, in the tens of thousands, to demonstrate once more in support of the people in Gaza. You can see the crowd backing up here and moving around. So let's take a walk here. And Rowan, I presume this is a key representing the
Nakba.
The Nakba? Yes. You want to explain to our viewers?
Well, I made this for the Nakba back in May, and I've just made so many of them that I'm handing them out to anybody for them, yes.
And this represents the key to the houses from which the Palestinians fled in 1948.
Yes.
Where have you come from today?
Bristol.
Another Bristolian. We're getting so many Bristolians. Yeah. It's heartening to see. I mean, everyone's saying that the feeling in Bristol is good. There's a good alliance in Bristol.
Absolutely. It's really strong. Yeah.
And it's not just. It's about cultural opposition as well, isn't it? Yeah. Culture is very important in this.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic city. Yes, and lots.
Thank you very much for coming from Bristol today. Look at that key. Fantastic. Really good, representing the tragedy of the Nakba in 1948. Hi, can I ask you about the sign you're carrying, which says Keir Starmer is evil?
Sure. I believe that Keir Starmer is dragging Britain into a malaise, and that he is not acting independently. He's been promoted into his position by outside forces, by an oligarchy, and he represents an enormous danger to Britain's future. His reckless support for the war the genocide in Palestine and also supporting NATO's proxy war in Ukraine.
And can I say, so Keir Starmer elected a huge landslide, huge majority, but the lowest ever vote for a government in British history. It's incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, it was depressing how the mainstream media has ignored this fact. As you said, that one of Labour's lowest ever electoral turnouts, and with our miserable political system, he now has absolute control over our parliament. It's time for a change.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Let's continue to wander around. And we can see here, I mean, great view, looking down to the House of Commons, actually the House of Lords, Westminster there. Huge turnout. A lot of noise, a lot of livelihood here. Let's see who's coming through. Here's some people here. Hi guys, can I ask you a question? Islam channel.
Sorry man, no understand. No speaking English.
Okay. And continue to walk down here. Hi, here's a group. Can I ask you a question? Where have you come from today?
Haringey.
And what's the mood like in Haringey in support of Palestine?
Really good. Well, it's very good. We have stalls and there's always lots of support for the flags and talking about it.
Yeah, regular kind of like demos and assemblies and whatever. It's all really good, yeah.
Great to see you today. That's Haringey, North London. And let's walk over and speak to some more. Well, can I ask you, where have you come from today?
I came from Bolton. Bolton
in northwest England?
Yes, that's right.
That's a fantastic. You travelled all this way?
Yes, we came in the bus. We are a group of people and we're all coming from Bolton. And there are a couple of buses actually came from Manchester and a lot of from other part in the northwest.
And what's the mood like in Bolton over the question of Palestine?
About this, well, we have a local marches in Bolton, but recently I think the frequency is not as was in the start. But yes, you know, there are marches in Manchester. People join from, there is a march in Lancashire as well. So different parts, you know, the northwest, they come and join different, you know, from different small areas.
And can I ask you, just specifically, in terms of the Muslim community?
Yeah.
I presume fantastic support.
Well, to be honest, it's not just the Muslim community. When I see here, like every color, every nation, you know, different languages. And to be honest, like when I was coming, I was surprised that we are very few people came from the Bolton, because we are in thousands in a very high number. But in here, a lot of non-Muslim Jews, because it's not about religion, it's about, you know, genocide, occupation. It's nothing to do with the religion, to be honest. Like anywhere who is oppressed in the world, we should be against this, whether irrespective of whether color or religion or etc.
Thank you very much. Good for that.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, where have you come from today?
I live within London, so I'm from West London.
West London, whereabouts in West London?
Ealing Broadway.
Ealing Broadway. Again, fantastically mixed community in Ealing, many Muslims, non-Muslims. Is that reflected in the support for Palestine?
I feel like it's important for everyone to play their part, Muslim or regardless of what faith they come from. It's an opportunity for people to come together. I'm currently in some unfortunate circumstances where I was vocal about my support for Palestine within my advertising agency, and now I'm potentially going through a redundancy. So it's always important, regardless of the consequences, to think back what's important to do in this moment when such injustice is taking place against our Palestinians, brothers and sisters, and all across the world where unfortunately they're suffering from such consequences of colonization.
Thank you very much, and I hope it all works out for you in terms of your job situation.
Could I give a call out to something where all the proceeds are going to humanitarian aid? It's very difficult to know when you're boycotting things, but it's a drink called Cola Gaza, where 100% of the funds will go to humanitarian aid. I only know about this because I do pro bono soon for them, and it's great to have alternatives for brands which do harm to our community. It's Palestinian owned as well.
My sons have been drinking Gaza Cola, so yeah, that's a good shout out. And let's see, if we continue to walk down here. Aha, let's come over here. Hi guys, I'm looking for two Celtic supporters to talk to. Can you do it?
What are you asking?
Can I just ask you, why is it that Celtic supporters have got such a connection with Palestine?
It comes from like Celtic being set up as a charity by non-profit to support an immigrant community in Scotland, and it became about more like social justice as well, and a place for a marginalised community to unite around like a weekend activity. And that's grown to like a recognition for and look out for other instances across the world, and trying to support other football communities or support marginalised groups, basically.
And also, I mean, it comes from the Irish community in Scotland, and there's obvious parallels between what happened to the Irish and what happened to the Palestinians, isn't there?
Yeah, I think with what happened in the north of Ireland, like there's a lot of history there supporting like POWs and like the awareness and the comparisons drawn between the two of occupation and like fight against sort of militarized occupation that was marginalizing people and stuff like that. It's a bit different in terms of the gravity and now, but there's that history there helps people kind of relate to that more than other things.
Well, being a presenter, I can't reveal which football team I support in Scotland, but we're going to win the league again. That's another fantastic turnout from Celtic supporters, and there's a group of people over here. And here's a... Hi, can I ask you where you've come from today?
I don't want to be...
Where have you come from today, can I ask?
From Woodford Green.
Woodford Green in Essex?
Yes, yeah.
Great. And the whole family here?
Yeah.
And it's important, isn't it? I mean, to see young people, children, out in support of what's people of Gaza, given what's happening to young people in Gaza.
It is important. It's important to teach our children that the ethics of what is good and what is bad. It's quite simple. Killing children, and bombing civilians is bad. And that's why we teach our children to come to these marches, because any injustice in the world we want to speak out for.
I mean, we saw in the election in Ilford North and elsewhere, I mean, fantastic votes for independent candidates challenging it. Does that give you hope?
It does, yeah, I think so. I think we need more candidates to come out. I think what doesn't give me hope is the media, like BBC, Sky News, and then just the type of language that they use and the dehumanization that they're doing to the Palestinians. It doesn't feel like we have a free press anymore, where they don't call children, or they don't say Israel is killing people. Just recently, where the TikTok star Mehdi, he was killed by an Israeli airstrike. Shrapnel killed him by Israel. They didn't mention who killed him. They just said a TikTok star dies from alleged airstrike. Who's airstriking Gaza? Is anybody else airstriking Gaza? So how is it an alleged airstrike? It's BBC are doing this all over the place, and so is the international media.
And if I told you Britain is still selling crucial parts for those very same Israeli fighters, how would you respond?
Well, it's sickening. I mean, that's where if they use our tax dollars, I work really hard. I pay into the system and into this country, and our tax is being funded for these weapons and weapon manufacturers and weapon factories. It's sickening. It really is.
Well, let's just take a look at the family here all together. Fantastic turnout. Really good to really thank you for turning out. Makes a big difference. all the way from Woodford Green in Essex.
Yes.
Well done, well done. Really strong turn. You can see the keffiyehs, the sweatshirts, t-shirts. Really excellent stuff, really excellent. Let's keep walking and take one more interview over here. Excuse me, guys, Islam Child. Can I ask you where you've come? Can I ask one of you where you've come from today?
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Excellent. And a really strong turnout for Birmingham today.
I've come by myself. I imagine so.
Yeah. And we've seen as well. We saw a great vote for independent candidates in Birmingham in the elections and in the mayoral election in the West Midlands. Does that give you hope?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, it does. It does actually. Yeah.
Well, good to see you from Birmingham today, and thank you for coming down.
That's okay. Thank you.
Take care. Right, we're going to take a short break, but join us again after that to continue our live coverage of the demonstrations here in central London, where you can see an array of Palestinian flags, other flags as well, Tunisian and so on. This is a really good turnout, and the mix of people from all different backgrounds, Muslim, non-Muslim, Jewish. We'll be coming back to this, so stay with us after this break and join us for our coverage. Thank you for joining us.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel. The National Qiraat competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head-to-head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the Excel Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qiraat champion, only on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater, a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of self-worth, a life with less questions and more answers.
Tune in to Islam Channel for our new program, Eye on India, delving into the stories shaping India's future. We will explore the history, culture, and the evolution of Indian politics at the resurgence of Hindu nationalism.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
We're now at the front of the demonstration at Piccadilly Circus, and I'm joined by two former MPs now, Emma Dent-Coad and Claudia Webb. Emma, can I just start by asking you about something else? I mean, you were the MP representing North Kensington. This week we saw the inquiry into Grenfell. It's a damning inquiry, not just about what happened at Grenfell, but about the state of Britain itself, isn't it?
100%, and actually it's so much worse than I thought. Some of the detail that I'm reading, and I'm reading chunks every day, is unbearable to read. And I'm not even talking about what happened in the tower, I'm talking about what people did. people who are entrusted with people's lives, and how careless they were, and how disdainful, treating people with utter contempt, shoving fire enforcement notices in drawers, not dealing with them. And this has gone on for years and years. Eric Pickles has come out very badly, and quite a few of the officials at the council.
Well, can I just say, Eric Pickles essentially lied.
He did lie, he did indeed lie, as did many other people, and it's been named, and I'm glad that's been called out like that, because incontrovertible now, people have to be charged and go to jail. We're going to have to wait a very long time for that. That's very distressing for everybody. It's been a tough week, but many of us feel vindicated at least.
Claudia, unfortunately you didn't get elected in Leicester East, but we did see an independent elected, one of 5 in Leicester South, and we saw Jeremy Corbyn triumph in Islington North. How heartening was that?
I mean, the growth of the independents is really something to be welcomed, absolutely. We now have, in Parliament 5 independent MPs, and actually we have another 7 that joined them. So that is a growth, and that basically is a damning indictment around in terms of the Labour government and Labour itself. Labour really, they won the election, but they didn't win the hearts and minds of the people. The Tories lost. In Leicester East, the Tory actually won with 14,000 votes, 5,000 less than they lost with in 2019. So, and that is because it was a Stop Claudia campaign. And the Lib Dem candidate in particular ran on a ticket of vote for me, I'm a Muslim. And that is actually atrocious. So what I experienced was spiritual influence actually in Leicester East. But the people of Leicester East actually came behind and gave me sufficient good votes because of the work that I did. And actually I stand on a ticket of social justice, socialism, equity and peace. And actually we now don't have in Leicester East a socialist MP, female MP. I was born in Leicester East, the first female MP for Leicester East ever, the first black female MP anywhere in Leicestershire. Of course, I spoke up on the issue of Gaza. I spoke up on the issue of farmers' rights in India and the issues of attacks on minority religions in India. I spoke up in defence of the Tamil community and Sri Lankan community, and I spoke up on the issues of poverty and housing, poor housing. Our constituency in Leicester East faces one of the most impoverished constituencies in the whole country. We now have a Tory representing that constituency. That is a damning shame, and really we have to hope that next time around we get a good socialist MP representing Leicester East.
Can I ask you both, this week we saw Kemi Badenoch, one of the contenders for the Conservative leadership, bad-mouthing those people who voted independent, saying they were essentially sectarian, they were violent, etc. How do you react to that?
I really think we have to move on from this name-calling, the nastiness. People have got so tired of that. People who are stepping away from politics altogether point to that kind of name-calling and sheer nastiness. We have to actually treat people with respect. I would never call somebody bad names like that, and we have to rise above that. And really, if that's the way the Conservative Party are going, more right-wing and more nasty, the genuine nasty party, people will turn away from it in droves, and we all have to take a lesson from that.
It's completely unparliamentary in the first place, and Kemi knows she would never get away with that in the House, on the House floor itself, and would have been severely reprimanded for not treating her fellow MP as an equal. Everybody who gets elected into Parliament is elected on their own stand, and nobody is higher than anybody.
Right, we've seen Keir Starmer restrict some arms sales to Israel. We've seen them restore funding to UNRWA, but we're still selling some arms, crucial arms, to Israel. And we seem to be also joining this blame game of saying it's Hamas, not Netanyahu, who's blocking a ceasefire. What's your assessment so far of Sir Keir Starmer in office?
Considering he's a human rights lawyer, it's appalling. The complicity when it comes to Israel. It's appalling that we're not able to stop all arms to Israel. That is what he should be doing. He should be seeking to ensure that, and to make the argument that if we don't stop these component parts of the F-35s, then it will somehow upset the supply chain. Well, that's good. We want to upset the supply chain. That's the point. We need to stop arming Israel. They're committing a genocide in Gaza. They're committing atrocities in broad daylight. The world can see it. They lie, they lie, they lie. The UK and other governments need to wake up and stop arming Israel. Boycotts, divestment, sanctions. Now we need to reverse everything that the Tories sought to do in their support of Israel.
Claudia Webb, Emma Dent-Claude, thank you very much. We're going to take back to the studio now for a prayer break. So please come and join us again after that for our continued coverage of this demonstration here in central London in support of Palestine.
This Adhan is brought to you by Orphans in Need, bringing hope for a better tomorrow.
عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا سمعتم النداء فقولوا مثل ما يقول المؤذن.
On the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whenever you hear the adhan, say as the mu'adhin is saying.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
O Allah, owner of this perfect call and owner of this prayer to be performed, bestow upon Muhammad al-Wasila and al-Fadila, and send him upon a praised platform which you have promised him. Verily, you never fail in your promise.
This Adhan is brought to you by Orphans in Need, bringing hope for a better tomorrow.
To protect the British government and the officers of the British government from future indictments at the ICJ.
Just welcome back to the demonstration here in central London. I'm just joined by Iqbal Mohammed. Iqbal, can I ask you this? I mean, the narrative we're getting from the BBC and the established media is that it's Hamas which are sabotaging the ceasefire talks. The truth is, it's Benjamin Netanyahu, isn't it?
So every time Israel invade or increase their atrocities and there is some kind of negotiated approach to a peace settlement, every time Israel has blocked progress, every time, way back since I was born, it's always Israel. They will put a proposal that the Palestinians will accept and then they'll change the rules. There was a peace agreement that Hamas agreed to with the Americans over 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, and Israel torpedoed that. Now America had another peace agreement and they're changing the goalposts on a daily, hourly basis. How much can the Palestinians concede to leave them with something that they can live in and rebuild?
Can I ask you this? I mean, we've seen South Africa, joined by other countries, take Israel to the International Court of Justice and win their case. But we're not seeing the kind of solidarity action that South Africa and other countries have shown from Muslim and Arab countries around the world. How do you feel about that?
As a Muslim, it really disappoints me. I don't know the reason. I can't talk for those countries or those governments. I don't work there. I work in the British Parliament and I'm a member of Parliament for the UK. So I would encourage any state, Muslim or non-Muslim, that can make some kind of positive contribution to reduce the killing, to stop the killing, to get justice for the Palestinians, to do everything in their power to do so.
And I mean, this is not just Muslims, obviously, this is across the community. But it is very important that Muslims in Britain make their feelings known in solidarity with Palestine today. Would you encourage people watching this to join these demonstrations?
As you said, it's not just Muslims. Every single British citizen, resident, person living in this country should be worried at what's going on in Israel, in Palestine, and also worried at the inaction of our governments or the blind support of this genocide. Because if Israel, who are doing this with impunity for decades, get away with it, then any other country, it will set a precedent for complete collapse of international law and for wars to return to barbarism.
Iqbal Mohammed, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, I think, and here is an old friend of Islam Channel, once again. Always great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Now, Dr. Ishmael Patel, who's a real friend of Islam Channel. I mean, Ishmael, once again, thousands of people coming out. Thousands of people. I mean, this is inspiring, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is what keeps us going. That gives us a little bit of hope that, there is some humanity in the world and we can get our politicians to change their stance in supporting Israel, and hopefully we can stop the genocide.
Now, we've seen some action by the new Labour government. We've seen them restore funding to UNRWA. We've seen some arms sales stopped, but we're still supplying weapons, aircraft parts, for instance, crucial to the Israelis. I mean, how do you feel about this so far with the Starmer government?
So far, Starmer's government is giving what I call a false generosity. I call it false generosity because they're in a way, trying to camouflage their true support for Israel by throwing crumbs to the Palestinians, by saying we'll re-establish the funding for UNRWA or stop 12 or 10 exporting licenses after 300, whereas they're providing blanket cover to Israel to continue with its genocide. And we should not accept that, and we should not be fooled by this false generosity by the Labour government.
And we saw in the general election on the 4th of July, we saw 5 independents, including Jeremy Corbyn, elected, and some fantastic, strong votes. I mean, how important was that?
That is pivotal, and I think Keir Starmer's false generosity is based on that, because he realizes that if he doesn't do anything, then the chances are, even all the by-elections that are going to come across before the general election, his position will become very precarious. And the nation, the British people and the public want an end to genocide in Gaza. They want Israel to stop the bombing of Gaza. They want to stop the occupation, and they want our government to act. So if there was democracy in this country, Keir Starmer would take the lead, be a person that he is, and take the voice of the people and tell the Israelis to end the occupation and end the genocide.
Now, this week we saw one Conservative leadership container became a bad-mouthing once again those people who voted for the independents, saying they were sectarian, communist and so on. How do you respond to that?
And that is despicable. That is Islamophobia on its face. You know, if you want to see Islamophobia, that's what it looks like. And that is what generates the right-wing extremists, and that's why we had the riots around England. And she is really feeding the right-wing extremists for cultural wars. And we must understand that politicians like that should have no space within our political establishment.
Ismail Patel, thank you very much for joining us once more. And I'm going to go over here because it's someone I recognise and know. This is Andrew Murray from the Stop the War Coalition. Andrew, can I ask you this? I mean, we're now over almost 2 months into the Keir Starmer government. It has, as I've said to others, restored funding to UNRWA. It has stopped some arms supplies. How important do you think is that, and how hopeful are you?
Well, I think the fact that it's done anything at all is due to the pressure of the mass movement, the demonstrations over the last year, and also the general election result, where Labour lost hundreds of thousands, maybe more, votes, both amongst Muslim and non-Muslim communities because of its position on Gaza. So there have been small improvements. I think UNRWA funding is probably something the Tories would have done anyway, restoring it. The decision on arms sales is obviously completely inadequate, but it should give us encouragement to push further for a full ban on arms sales and a recognition of the Palestinian state.
And I mean, we saw in the election of 5 independents, including Jeremy Corbyn. How significant was that?
Well, it's very significant. I mean, hardly any independents get elected ever in British general elections. By-elections, they sometimes do a bit better. But to have 5 elected, now Jeremy maybe is a special case. The other 4, it was entirely as a result of Labour's position on Gaza and the consequent collapse amongst Muslim votes in particular. I think the position on Gaza also helped some of the Green candidates get elected in addition to the independents. And of course, Jeremy's own position on Gaza could not be clearer, but he had probably a broader base of support. But otherwise, yes, it's very significant. They now formed a group together, the 5 independents. We'll have to see how that grows and develops. But you have 7 Labour MPs now suspended from the whip, not because of Gaza, because of welfare benefit measures. And you can see this as the germ of some new formation arising basically from the strength of our mass movement.
Now let's just look across the Atlantic and ask you this. I mean, we've seen Joe Biden step down.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. What do we expect from either?
Well, I always say, when everyone asks about US politicians, is my ambition is when it doesn't matter in Britain anymore who the US president is, because they no longer control our foreign policy, and US imperialism no longer has the world influence that it does. I don't have a vote in an American election, and looking at it, I don't regret that at all.
You're glad of that?
Yes.
It's not much of a choice, is it?
It's not much of a choice. I mean, you know, one can parse it in different ways, but on the matter of Palestine, Trump's position, as we learned when he was president, is unrelentingly pro-Israel, and Harris has to own a Biden policy which has been no different at all. Other issues, perhaps one can parse differences, but I mean, possibly on Ukraine, Donald Trump might give less full-throated support to the continuation of the war. But in the end, as I say, it's an election. I'm glad not to have to worry about how I would cast a vote.
One last question. We've seen the narrative coming from the established media is that it's Hamas who are sabotaging the ceasefire talks. That's not true, is it? It's Netanyahu.
The ending is that Hamas agreed the proposal advanced by Biden back in May. It is Israel that's been insisting on amendments time and time again. And indeed, it is the Netanyahu that has an interest in the war continuing, because when it stops, it's quite likely his coalition will collapse and he might be on his way to jail. So it is the Netanyahu government, in particular, its present insistence on maintaining a military presence along the border with Egypt, that is preventing a ceasefire.
Andrew Murray, thank you very much. You're welcome. And that's our further speaker here. I mean, looking around, and we're building up here. We can see we're at Piccadilly Circus in the heart of London, and growing numbers coming here. I notice some turnout here. Trade unionists, Christians, Jews, people from different political parties. I mean, this is a huge turnout representing a cross-section of British public opinion. Once more. And that's really important, because you cannot, despite attempts to portray these as being, if you remember Suella Braverman saying these were hate marches, this simply doesn't wash. Because you see families, you see kids, you see pensioners, you see everyone from all the different aspects. And the march is going to start at 1:30 in 10 minutes. We're going to have to clear this space. But we look around, we see so many speakers here. So I think we're going to catch, and shortly we're going to catch some 3 speakers at the beginning of the demonstration. We're going to be marching, turning down left and my left into Piccadilly, and marching in a straight line to the Israeli embassy in South Kensington, where there'll be a further rally, and we'll be covering the speeches there. So I'm looking around for other people to speak to. I think we need to clear this area. In terms of this, look forward again. So much so. Excuse me, can I ask you the significance of this T-shirt?
Yes, it is a sample for the watermelon. Our people, the Palestinian flag, they have to show this watermelon, the colors of the Palestinian flag. So, when kind of
how important is people of Palestine to see people in the West, people in the UK, the US and elsewhere on the streets in support of Palestine?
Yes, we are so proud of that. We feel that we are not alone, because I am from the Palestinian Forum in Britain. We show this movement around the world. It's a global movement. Support us. We are not alone. It is not enough, but the people with us.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to have to clear the area to join in. Thank you very much. So we're clearing the area, so allow the demonstration to start. I think we're going to have some speeches, so we're going to make our way down to the stage, and there'll be 3 speeches at the start, and I think we'll carry those as we go. Let's see if we can talk to some other people about. We're going to a break now, so please join us again after this. The demonstration will be setting off shortly, so come back to us and we'll be hopefully on the march in this demonstration. Palestine. Join us after this break.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel. The National Qira'ah competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head-to-head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the Excel Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qira'ah champion, only on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater, a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of self-worth, a life with less questions and more answers.
Tune in to Islam Channel for our new program, Eye on India, delving into the stories shaping India's future. We will explore the history, culture, and the evolution of Indian politics at the resurgence of Hindu nationalism.
And one of the lies that's told is that all support Israel. Here, as always, a group of Jews, authentic rabbis, who do not recognize the state of Israel, believe it is against the Torah. These, the brothers and sisters in Israel, have faced repression. They're facing the possibility of the law being changed so they can be conscripted into the IDF. And they're here, children, men, boys, men, to show that they are opposed to Netanyahu and the state of Israel. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of Islam Channel for joining us today. Thank you. And we'll just come along here. And it's really important that it's a demonstration that not all Jews support the state of Israel, that along with their brothers and sisters, brothers in Israel, as I was saying, are facing repression for opposing the Netanyahu government, who face being conscripted into the army because of the change in the law, but are standing up to Netanyahu and the false prophets, because the Torah, if it's to be followed, does not accept that the state of Israel as it exists can be Israel. It cannot be.
There are thousands of
no.
There's thousands of Jews within the occupied territory living there. Also, said very clear they're willing to be in jail. They're willing to be in jail rather than serve in the Zionist army.
They can't use the mic because it's the Sabbath. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and Godspeed your efforts. I think we're going to go over and and very interesting development here from the Indian Workers Association from Derby, joining us today. Thank you. You've come down from Derby. It's really important, I think, that people see the Indian Workers Association taking a stand.
My name is Rajinder Banks. I'm from Indian Workers Association Derby branch. And all over England, we got branches. And they are all, some of them, they are here. Why we are here? We are supporting Palestine and we are against Israel genocide. Israel is not immunity there. They are not thinking anything, just killing people. And I've been to Palestine 5 years ago, and I've seen with my own, I saw with my own eyes what is happening there. So we are fighting with others until Palestine got justice. Thank you.
Can I just ask you something else, which is, in India itself, the Modi government has been very close ally of Israel. What do you think of that?
Yes, we condemn that. Our Prime Minister, we are against Modi. We are with, well, all over India, the majority of Indians, they are supporting Palestine. They are condemning what is happening in Palestine by Israel.
I mean, Modi and the BJP have a very communist agenda, very anti-Muslim and indeed anti-Sikh agenda.
Yes, we in India, our party, and we are here, we condemn Modi's policies because Modi want to divide the India and we are against Modi.
Thank you very much. And looking for my assistant, and here we have Derby Friends of Hebron. I don't know if someone I'm being pointed in a way. You're here today, Derby Friends of Hebron. Would you like to explain the nature of your group?
Yeah, about 10 years ago, the mayor of Derby went to Hebron, and we set up a fairly informal sort of sisterhood. City twinning arrangement, except we don't have free holidays in Hawaii or something like that with it. And from time to time, groups from Hebron come to Derby, and I took 22 Derby citizens to Hebron a few years ago, and can say the rest is history. I like to think the rest of the future as well.
Can I just ask, as a Christian minister, how are relations with the other faiths in Derby?
Well, fine. I mean, I'm a retired cathedral dean. I'm an Anglican Church of England cathedral dean, and as you can see, I'm surrounded by Muslim friends from Derby, and I've got Jewish rabbi friends over the road. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us from Derby. Thank you. So we're going to, as you can see, the demonstration has now started, and we're proceeding along Piccadilly. Let's just get out of this box and we'll just get out of this. We'll just get in front of this.
Guys, move on the pavement, move on the pavement.
And we can see some of the banners as they come up. Just wait for... Here are a banner, Hammersmith, Kensington, Fulham, Chelsea stand with Palestine. Thank you very much for that. And we'll, as you can... So the march is underway. We're going to proceed along Piccadilly, past Hyde Park Corner, to the Israeli embassy in South Kensington, where there will be a rally. We'll cover some of those speeches. There you can see some of our Jewish friends who have joined the demonstration, showing their support of Palestine. The Torah demands that all Palestine be returned to Palestinian sovereign territory. Free Palestine. The state of Israel and its atrocities. Judaism condemns it. That is the voice of those Jews marching, not just standing, but marching in support of the people of Palestine. And there's a banner over there, blessed are the peacemakers, ceasefire now. So over there is Christians for Palestine. Hi, Christians for Palestine there. Whilst we're here, we're seeing a really interesting turnout. I mean, second Christian banner we've seen Jews on the march, obviously many Muslims. I mean, don't you think this is inspiring that we can have this mix? Wasim.
Hi there, Chris. Chris, thank you for that.
Well, I might have to answer.
You've been on the streets once again, beating down on everything that's been happening and telling us what's been happening there. Obviously, one of the great things about that is that you've been able to see so many different people of different faiths. And it is quite an interesting point that you have Christians and Jews that you've just been able to speak to as you're going along, and to see exactly what they've been saying around this another momentous march for Palestine. We're here again. We're here on a Saturday. We're here marching again to see whether or not there is going to be any movement from the governments and from the people in power at the sight of all of these individuals that have come together and once again said they want a ceasefire and they want one now. Chris is obviously our man on the ground right now, and he's taking opinions and views from different people across the march. And again, he's surprised us all by telling us how many people have again turned out. This is another march where we're looking at over 100,000 people, where you've got numbers of this magnitude coming in more or less every 2 weeks from across the country. It shows that there is still a significant proportion of people that are not fatigued by this particular situation, that are not concerned about what the politicians are going to say to them and what is going to happen to them, because they still want to have those voices heard. It's an momentous occasion in relation to how many times we are seeing this, because this will go down in history. It really will. We've never had marches sustained and contained like this over however many years it's been now that Islam Channel's been running. We've never covered anything like this. It is every week a new chapter to that particular story. And of course, one of the things that is very important is that we take every march that we have in relation to the stories of the week that have actually taken shape during that week. We are gonna come back to those stories as well, but right now we're going to go back down on the ground and back to Chris.
You joined this march. How inspiring is it? I was saying,
I've been to all the marches, almost all the marches.
And it's so inspiring to see all different faiths, and all different non-faiths, all different parties, isn't it?
Absolutely. At first we used to see all Muslims, but now we see all the different faiths, and honestly it's very inspiring. And yes, we support the cause, and we're here every time there's a march.
Thank you very much, joining us from Elstree in Hertfordshire. Thank you for joining us today. So you're getting some sights of some of the prestigious buildings in London. This building here is the Royal Academy, one of the big art galleries in central London. We're walking past Fortnum and Mason, the posh food shop, which I'm sure that most viewers like myself could not afford to shop in. But we are here inside, and you can see we're crowds of people on the streets. And here is the Jewish bloc for Palestine. And well, here we are passing with the Jewish bloc for Palestine. An impressive turnout. Another huge turnout from the Jewish bloc.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? It's important, isn't it?
It's important because we're part of humanity. We're on the side of the people being killed, not the people doing the bombing.
And how do you feel about the protests? Are they important that have been taking place in Israel?
They are significant, but what they want is a less hostile Zionism. They don't want to see an end to Zionism, and that's what we want to see.
And those cheers you can hear are for the Jewish bloc, so we're going to move out of the way. Again, attempt to label this as anti-Semitic. Look at the number of Jews forming up there to join this protest, as always, as always. And again, I mean, when you hear, Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, talk about hate marches, you can see there is no hint of violence. There is no hint of hatred on this march. Children over there from Friends of Al-Aqsa marching together peacefully. That's how it should be. Families, pensioners, teenagers, all together. You know, the idea that this could be a hate march is just nonsensical. And many of the marchers know that watching the protests this week in Israel, as our guest just said just now, that they want a more humane side to Israel. There's a split in Israeli society between those Ashkenazi Jews who are more secular, more orientated towards the West, and those in Netanyahu's government who are religious zealots, who want a Judea, a state of Judea which incorporates Gaza and the West Bank and even possibly Jordan and the south of the River Litani in Lebanon. There's a split there. But I think while it's significant that it weakens Netanyahu, I think they're correct what the guests have been saying, that it is just a form of a more humane, form of Zionism. And here we have a gentleman with we met again. We're carrying an Algerian flag. It's really important. The parallels between Algeria and its independence struggle and its colonial history and Palestine are very strong parallels.
It is. Assalamu alaikum before everything. Peace be upon you. As I always mention, we've been oppressed like the Palestinian. And the reason why, every march in here, because what the Palestinian people went through, we went through for 130 years, and we lost more than 5 million people. So therefore, we are going today to march to the what's so-called Israel, because for me, or for us, the Algerian, Israel is not a country. Israel is a prophet name, and we are going to this to march towards this terrorist organization. And what people don't know, for me, what it's so-called Israel is an advanced base, military base for the West. So, and not many people understand that, but really this terrorist organization are really advanced base for the West and especially America, because there is no such a country called Israel. For me, or for everybody, for all the Algerian, we don't even call them Israel. We call them Zionist terrorists, because what we went through in Algeria, so the past is repeating itself. And so we hope soon that Palestine get the independence. And I always thank your channel for always give us the opportunity to describe our feeling, to say things, to describe our feeling. And you always been here. This is it the 18 March, I think? Is it number 18 or more?
Thank you. You're a good friend of Islam Child. Thank you. And I think we need to pull ahead a little bit more. Hi, where have you come from today?
Sheffield.
Not right now.
Sheffield.
Can you move to the side, please? Come on. Sorry. Sorry, I'll start that again. Where did you come from today?
Sheffield.
Ah, good. And what brings you here? A sense of...
Because I'm sick of how dehumanized the Palestinians have become, that their death mean nothing. How the West dictates who has or is worthy of being considered human.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. One of those watermelon T-shirts again with the Palestinian colours. Let's get on the front to the front. Let's put. So Wasim in the studio, you can sense that 11 months into this genocidal war, the mood remains one of determination to show support for Palestine and to bring this genocidal war to an end. So I think you can sense that the next month we'll bring the 1 year on, and I think we're going to see huge numbers of people coming out in the streets to mark 1 year of this genocidal war. And we'll be covering that demonstration too. So you can see to my right, the very front of the demonstration. We're parallel with it at the moment.
Indeed. Chris?
Lively, noisy, making its feelings clear, and moving at some pace here.
Indeed. Okay, there was Chris again on the ground. Of course, we are coming up to an anniversary date. We're now 11 months into this particular conflict. Some would say 11 months into this genocide. But again, week on week, we keep on hearing news stories that have been updating why it is that people continue to come out, because the numbers don't dissipate, the numbers continue to increase, and there are deaths that continue to happen. This week, we knew of the US and Turkish citizen that was killed as well, and the UN has demanded that that Israel actually undertakes an investigation into her death. That particular story, again, created a massive uproar because until there was a small amount of coverage from human rights organisations, no media outlet was picking this up. Of course, here on the Islam Channel, we picked that up. So those were some important issues that were taking place just before this demonstration happened today, in terms of what is the value of a Palestinian life. And of course, with figures in excess of 40,000 in terms of deaths counted. And we have to remember this, it's very important. The death count in relation to Gaza was always taking place where there was a ministry that could accurately contribute and accurately make those figures available to the rest of the world, which have never really been questioned either by the Israeli side in the past or by the international community and the international human rights organisations that look at those particular figures. But then, when there was one hospital that was bombed and there was a massive outcry in relation to that particular hospital, we now have a situation where there are no real running hospitals in Gaza at all. Where that's the situation, how you are able to attribute an accurate figure of how many people have died becomes a lot more difficult. We do know that they are increasing figures. We also know that there are at least 10,000 people unaccounted for under the rubble. And that was when I was talking about this in news reports almost 4 months ago. So that particular figure, again, we have to take with a pinch of salt. We know that there have been reports that have come out from certain organizations that have suggested that the death toll and ancillary cost of life for Palestinians has resulted in almost 100,000 deaths. I mean, those are the figures that we are contemplating and looking at. And so when someone talks about an issue of genocide, that is a very, very important point to take into consideration. How many people have actually physically died? Then take on top of that all of the physical destruction that's taken place in that particular territory and that particular land. Then take into consideration statements that are made in relation to the Israeli government and what they have said. We are going to stop any food. We are going to stop any water getting through. There is, you can see, blockades that happen on the borders. Aid that is willing and wanting to come into Gaza is unable to get in because people are stopping it from traveling into that particular territory. These are Israeli citizens. These are settler citizens for the state of Israel. And of course, when we say settler, it's in international law. The UN, again, has been very, very clear in recent months in doubling down on these particular points. Those settlements are illegal. They are not in relation to what international law says is allowed. You are not allowed to have these particular settlements, yet you are continuing to see the effects of what these people do when they go in. We've seen the videos. We've seen how when one person tries to defend a piece of land that they've been on for ages, they're not able to do so because someone has come in and said, no, I want this land for myself. They'll plant a lemon tree there. And then they'll say, well, I've always had access to this land, and I've always wanted this land. And then when they go to the authorities to do something, they have effectively been stopped from exercising their rights because the people that are there to uphold the law are actually protecting the settlers who, as we have said, are not allowed any rights to that land because of what is in international law and international treaties. We are going to go to a quick break, and once we come back, we will be back with Chris Branbury on the ground.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel. The National Qira'ah competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head to head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the Excel Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qira'ah champion, only on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater, a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of self-worth, a life with less questions and more answers.
Tune in to Islam Channel for our new program, Eye on India, delving into the stories shaping India's future. We will explore the history, culture, and the evolution of Indian politics at the resurgence of Hindu nationalism.
So we now have some live updates for you on the march. We understand that there have, or the reports are coming in, that there is a person that has effectively tried to cajole into the march and effectively tried to stop the march. He's holding a banner, I understand, which says Hamas is terrorist, and I believe the police have stopped the march until this particular incident is resolved. We do have a quick set of pictures of this particular issue. These are reported to us from our person on the ground, Tariq Ahmed. We'll get to see some of those pictures now.
Excitement here. We had two Zionists holding up banners, one saying Hamas is a terrorist organisation, who tried to get in front of the demonstration to stop it coming through. I'm pleased to say the police dealt with it very quickly and in a very restrained manner, I think. And people didn't respond to what could have been quite a dangerous situation. So a bit of excitement here. And as you can see, I mean, this demonstration is now, for those who know, under Hyde Park Corner. And looking back, we can see all the way back to Piccadilly Circus. And there are people still coming round from the assembly point. Huge numbers of people in this demonstration. The 16th demonstration, national demonstration in London in support of Palestine. And once again, an inspiring turnout of people marching in support of the people of Palestine. And so we're making our way. We're now at Hyde Park Corner. Hyde Park straight ahead on my right. The Duke of Wellington's residence on my right. Buckingham Palace just down there to my left. And we're making our way down into Knightsbridge to the Israeli embassy in Knightsbridge, where we'll have a rally in the street outside the embassy. We can't go any further towards the embassy. It's blocked off for obvious reasons, but we'll be, I'm sure they can hear a noise felt. And more people coming up. So we're at Hyde Park. Well, often many of the demonstrations have assembled. Hi, where have you come from today?
I live in London.
And you're carrying a Palestinian flag?
Yes.
You obviously feel strongly about the issue?
Well, to be honest, I really feel that this needs to stop, as this has been going on for centuries. And to be honest, what do you gain out of what does Israel gain out of killing people? And the thing that really annoys me the most is that babies are in the picture. Babies are suffering. I thought that's just nasty. And all these big boy brands need to stop supporting Israel, and everyone should all get together and show, help Palestine. The world should just abide by Palestine's side.
Good words. I mean, what do you say to... I mean, the British government has stopped some arms sales to Israel, but it's still selling arms to Israel, including parts to its fighter aircraft that are carrying out strikes on civilians, including those babies. What do you say to Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister?
To be honest, they're not going to do nothing about it, and they should do something about it, because these are innocent people's lives. What do people gain out of killing people? And in what religion around the world tells you you're allowed to kill people? The only time you're allowed to kill if you're doing self-defense. That's it. That's what God says you can do.
Wise words. Wise words. Thank you very much.
Anyways, you have a nice day. It was a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too. See you in the next demonstration. And he will be there. He's been in every one. Every one. Right, so many people here. And here we've got a banner identifying the shipping line company, Maersk, saying that it's ships for genocide. In other words, Maersk, the giant shipping company, is supplying Israel with arms, and that banner is showing off. I'm going to ask someone about this. Can I just ask you, this is about Maersk, the shipping line?
Yeah, Maersk Shipping Line. They're one of the biggest logistics companies in the world, and they're transporting weapons components to the US for assembly, and then they're transporting complete weapons to the Zionist state of Israel to facilitate this genocide through contracts they have with the US Department of Defense.
And you're the Palestinian Youth Movement?
And we're the Palestinian Youth Movement, yes.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
So that's the Palestinian Youth Movement highlighting the fact that Maersk, one of the biggest shipping line companies in the world, is supplying weapons to the conflict in Israel. And here we have Scousers for Palestine, so a contingent from Liverpool, making their own noise with music. So Liverpool making a noise here. And you can see this liveaboard on the banner over there. Strong showing from the city of Liverpool. Hi, you from Liverpool today?
Yeah, we are coming from Liverpool, yeah.
Strong contingent.
Yes, for sure. We are waiting 10 months or almost 1 year until now with genocide. We need to stop this. We have to come to stop this.
And can I just ask you this? I mean, Britain is still selling arms to Palestine.
Yeah. Literally, last week they stopped 10% only. We need to stop all of the army to Israel. Yeah, we have to stop that. We have to stop any helping to them.
Thank you very much. Great showing from Liverpool again today. It's a spiel from so many different places. Bristol, we were told, from Liverpool. And we can see that the march has stopped at Hyde Park Corner. There's no sinister reason behind that. I think we're just running ahead of schedule. And so many different people. I mean, and we're seeing Scousers against for Palestine, Liverpool friends of. Where are you from?
We're from Liverpool.
You're getting more from a fantastic showing from Liverpool.
Scousers stand with Palestine. No matter what religion, race, anything, we're all humans and we all stand with Palestine.
It's great to see a turnout from Liverpool. A city with a proud record as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you stand up for your own rights, don't you?
Of course. Human rights all the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's the authentic voice of Liverpool there. You can tell the accent. And
Scousers for Palestine! Scousers for Palestine! Scousers for Palestine! In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians! In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians! In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians! Thank you, brothers and sisters. Shukran, shukran. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
So the demonstration just halted here at Hyde Park Corner. I think we've been, it's got ahead of itself, it's moving so quickly. And growing numbers joining the march as we go through. So it's obviously the Liverpool contingent who've come down, didn't get here in time for the start, but are joining us at Hyde Park Corner. Many, many more doing the same. Some confusion because the police tried to delay the demonstration, some confusion about the start time today, but that hasn't stopped people joining the march. And again, if we turn around, we can see on the front of the march many familiar faces. Ibrahim Patel there, Claudia Webb, who we were talking to earlier, this Palestinian ambassador, so many old friends of Islam Channel who are at the front of this demonstration. Ben Jamal there, talking to the Chief Steward, Chris Nynham, with Andrew Murray, who we were talking to earlier. A great turnout. And I think we're going to have some really good speeches, as usual, at the demonstration's end, at the Israeli embassy, down the road here in Knightsbridge. I think people are angry about the fact that Netanyahu is sabotaging once more a ceasefire agreement. It's Netanyahu who changes the terms of references all the time. He's now demanding that Israel controls the Philadelphia corridor, that strip of land on the border with Egypt. It's Netanyahu, by changing his demands constantly, is sabotaging and preventing a ceasefire agreement. But that's not how it's been reported here in the UK and much of the West, where the blame is put on Hamas, not on Netanyahu. But that is not lost on the people here today in their thousands, demonstrating for an immediate ceasefire and demonstrating for in support of the Palestinian people. So lots of noise, lots of building up here in terms of that. And, you know, just looking around, I mean, this is the 16th demonstration. Next month, it'll be 1 year on from the start of this genocidal war. There's no sign of this abating. No sign whatsoever. The movement is growing in confidence. The movement is growing in strength. And it's not just these national demonstrations. In between these national demonstrations in London, there are local actions, pickets, rallies, letter writing to MPs, the building up of the boycott of Israeli produce, encouraging people to buy Palestinian goods such as olive oil in terms of that coming through. So here we go, and I think we're about to set off. So we're going to just move away from the front of the demonstration, which is we're going to be restarting again, I think, in a minute's time. And here, 3 kids have been at the front of the demonstration all the way with Friends of Al-Aqsa, showing, you know, again, how could you describe this as a hate march? How could you describe these children protesting for Palestine as being involved in hatred? You can see it's a very serious matter, but they're also here taking this seriously, and it's great to see such concern. So we're getting ready for the march. You can see it forming up now. It's going to set off in the last leg, down there, into Knightsbridge, some of the poshest parts of London. In fact, the building over there has the most expensive apartments in London. So we're going through an area of one of the poshest areas, I say, in London, and making this march making its voice heard, that it is demanding a ceasefire, and it's demanding Britain stops the sale of arms to Israel, all arms sales in terms of that. So we're getting ready here, huge demonstration here. I mean, look at that flag in the centre of it, 2 Palestinian flags and an Algerian flag, you know, solidarity, and we're setting off once more.
Can we clear the road, please? Clear the road! Clear the road! Clear the road, please! Guys, clear the road, please! Thank you so much.
So, quite a narrow stretch here. We've got an underpass on our left. So this section of the march is a bit narrower, but it's going to broaden out as we come down. This is, again, Phyllis, this is Hyde Park, the huge open green space in the centre of London, where so many of these marches have ended with rallies or begun by assembling here. Hyde Park, a centre of protest over the centuries. And we're thinking back in the 1860s, the police tried to prevent demonstrators demanding equal votes from assembling in Hyde Park. They actually tore down the fence to make their way into Hyde Park. And last ever, let me share our thoughts on this. I mean, do you think that the question of the arms sales, which has been highlighted, that Britain, despite rescinding some of those arms licenses, that Britain, the Keir Starmer government, is continuing to sell arms to Israel? It seems to me this is becoming a mounting issue. It's certainly one which is angering people here. Do you think it's going to grow in importance?
Agreed. I suppose this is a question that has been asked many, many times, and this is why we've had international advisors giving advice to our governments, both the Conservative government and the Labour government. And we know that the Conservative government's advice has not been published, and the new Labour government that's just come in has taken on board some of those recommendations, and 30 contracts out of 300 have been cancelled or at least put on hold, so that they are not in some way implicating British companies and the British government with the crime of genocide. Effectively, if there is a breach of international law or international humanitarian law, then that is what these particular issues are looking at. It doesn't necessarily mean that the substance is following the form, because the substance seems to suggest that what we have is weapons still going to Israel, weapons that are being produced in the UK that are still going in terms of parts for planes that go in and bomb in West Bank. We're going to cut back to Chris very quickly. Just trying to get Chris back.
Where have you come from today?
Come down from North London.
North London. Yeah. And this is the 16th demonstration in central London, and there's no sign of this abating, is there?
It's disgusting. It's terrible. It goes on and on and on. I feel ill that it's going on now, and now they've moved into the West Bank.
Yeah.
There's no Hamas in the West Bank. So obvious. They're just trying to destroy the Palestinian people. Excuse me.
And it's something you obviously feel emotional about.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, Israel doesn't even have a right to be there in the first place. It's set up by Britain and the United States, and they've gone in there and just got rid of the people, got rid of everyone there, and set up a state. And now they're just moving and trying to take over the rest of the area. And it's wrong, it's disgusting.
And so Keir Starmer, the new government, it's ended some arms sales licenses to arms sales to Israel, but it's still selling arms, selling some of the key components to the jets, carrying out attacks on families in Gaza. How do you feel about that?
Well, they've stopped 8% of sales. 8%. That's really not good enough. That leaves another 92% that are still being sold or given to Israel. And it needs to stop. These people are war criminals. No, they think that by making some kind of gesture, they're going to get away with it. These people should be in The Hague. And also, all the other politicians that are complicit. This carries on and on and on, and they can stop it. And Americans, obviously, they're in charge, but Britain is just following along, complicit.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and Godspeed back to North London.
Thanks very much.
Great turnout, of course, from London itself. I mean, we've talked to people from East London, West London, I mean, right across the capital's boundaries, reflecting the fact, I mean, London itself is a huge melting pot of different races, different nationalities, different religions, and huge support here for Palestine. Huge support, you really feel it. And hi, where are you from?
I'm from London, well, East Ham.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the 16th demonstration, big national demonstration in support of Palestine.
Yes.
And there's no sign of the numbers decreasing, is there?
No, I mean, like, I think everyone knows, like, how important it is. As the time goes on, the genocide is not decreasing, is it? So obviously, people are seeing it more and more on social media, on news. So yeah, and a lot of people are outraged.
And I mean, we see it's now only a few countries, Britain, America, of course, Germany, who are giving complete support to Israel. The rest of the world is against this. I mean, it tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are seeing now the hypocrisy of the Western world. I mean, like, you know, they always talk about human rights and, like, the international order, but when it comes to the allies, there's no such thing. They can just commit war crimes, a genocide, like, for everyone to see, and they're fully supporting it as well with weapons. Okay, now Britain has sort of banned a few of those weapons, but it's just like more of a PR campaign rather than making an actual difference. And there's still a lot of weapons to Israel, so what sort of difference that going to make? I mean, like, it's more of a symbolic gesture than actual difference, but hopefully if people keep on marching and if we keep the pressure up, hopefully Labour government will take some sort of more meaningful action. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Take care. So we're now, as I said, we are going to be passing some of the poshest parts of London. If you feel like you want to go shopping in Harvey Nichols, we are passing Harvey Nichols. I don't think many of our viewers, including myself, could afford to shop there. Hi, where are you from today?
Well, I'm from Wembley, London, and I just joined the protest. I normally haven't joined the protest for a while. I've been wanting to join, and I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity. A coach has turned up, and I thought I'll jump on board and come and.
And what's made you do that?
Well, obviously, this has been going on for a long time. People don't want a ceasefire. They want this conflict to end. They want peace talks to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they should have broken out peace talks a long time ago and allowed people to stop selling arms to basically take over land. It's just a land grab. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're just killing, butchering people as if they're cattle. You know what I mean? And it needs to stop, really, because it will just spread. This will just continue somewhere else.
No, I was just talking in London. It's a melting pot of different nationalities, religions. So Wembley is very much that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I know. People there have been bombarding the MPs to do something, but I mean, it is not just a protest, but it's a movement that the government needs to take account of and say, listen, we're in power now, and we're in charge of bringing peace and solidarity to the world. Let's break out peace talks, get these people in charge or who are in government around and break out the peace talks.
Thank you very much. And here we have someone who's a long-standing friend of Islam Channel.
Hello.
Where have you come from today?
I'm local. I'm not very far.
So you're from near central London?
No. I'm from West London.
West London? Whereabouts?
Southall. Southall.
All right, we're just talking to someone from Wembley. So
okay, that's not too far.
Shows the connections. And what brings you on these demonstrations?
Well,
explain
what brings me, what doesn't bring me. I don't know how anyone can sleep watching what's been happening for nearly a year now, and all the excuses everyone makes around the world that they don't like what's happening, or it needs to stop, but they're not actually doing anything that actually is going to stop it. Like even the Foreign Secretary, he said that he's suspending 30 licenses out of 300 and something. What is the point of 30 licenses? It's just got to stop. We can't just watch this and pretend it's not happening. And if they think that we're going away, we're not. We're not going away. We're going to carry on protesting until they stop and listen. And boycotting, we're going to do endlessly. It's just, I can't believe we're still here 10 months later and we're still protesting.
Well, next month will be 1 year on, and I think we're going to see a demonstration.
Of course, because they think that we're going to get tired and bored and we're going to stop. But how can we stop? Because we see it day in, day out. And if they have to stop, they have to listen eventually. We can't say nothing, because if we say anything, if anyone from like the Parliament of Israel, everything you say to them, anything anyone says, they call it anti-Semitic. Everything. It's just wrong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And here we have someone joining us today. We're in a Barcelona shop. Where do you come from today?
From East London.
East London?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what brings you on the day? What makes you come on a demonstration?
Well, I've been following the Palestinian situation for 25 years. And I believe in the cause. I believe there should be justice. There should be free Palestine. And they've been very hard done by it all, by the Western leaders. And there just doesn't seem to be any justice. And I watch these news every night, and it makes my blood boil, that how can the world just sit back and allow this genocide to happen?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because Britain is continuing to give its support to Israel, as of course is America, Germany. But these are a minority in the world. The majority of the world is opposed to this, isn't it?
Of course, it's the leaders. That they're not doing anything, not doing enough. I mean, the Labour has changed its stance to some extent, but not.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
welcome.
And for that, year anniversary of this genocide starting.
Well, that's a date you must put in your diary, 12th of October.
12th of October, yes,
and
sorry.
we'll see you there. We'll talk to you again.
Inshallah ta'ala, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Strong words there, strong words. And I sent an excellent T-shirt there as well. We're just, I think, going to wait up a bit in terms of that. And so coming down, we're as I say, that's a British military army barracks, and there's the.
Thank you there, Chris. Again, some strong words. And you know what's becoming more clearer as well is from people on the march, the message is just becoming much more succinct. We can do certain things and we have to do those particular things, and this is why we are here on this particular march. They have almost given up in relation to what the leaders are actually doing, but they still need to raise their voices to make sure that something does get done and that the voice of the Palestinians is not lost. We heard there as well about the sales of arms. That is again a big issue. Even though the UK only contributes 0.02% towards Israel's total military arsenal, it's still an important issue for people that are British in this country that want to make sure that they have said and heard and have had their voice heard. We're going to go to a short commercial break, and once we come back, we will be back at the march again with Chris and your views.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel. The National Qira'ah competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head-to-head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the Excel Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qira'ah champion, only on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater, a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of self-worth, a life with less questions and more answers.
Tune in to Islam Channel for our new program, Eye on India, delving into the stories shaping India's future. We will explore the history, culture, and the evolution of Indian politics at the resurgence of Hindu nationalism.
Making is very, very important because it holds significance. And of course, once they've gone into the West Bank, it's under the premise and guise that it is still Hamas who is the go-go. So where Hamas are not in control of a territory, what is the international ruling? What is the legal standing for going into that particular territory? Because of course, the West Bank is under the control of the Palestinian Authority, or at least it should be. So where is the authority to necessarily go in and do what they have been doing? And of course, we've not just seen the horrific deaths, the horrific acts of violence against people's property, the removal of property, and then the usurpation of that property. We also note that they have been very, very clear in relation to usurping those particular rights of worshippers, people going into the Al-Aqsa Masjid. Those particular areas have also become sites for derogation. But obviously today's march is about all of those things and more. And we've also had people that are instigating problems at the march. We had earlier a person holding a sign saying Hamas is terrorist, but on the basic premise that he wanted to antagonize that particular crowd. Again, one of the amazing things about these marches are that there are so many people that attend these things that could so easily be a spark for something, for whatever reason. But it didn't take place. And now we have some video footage of some of what was going on there. It was our reporter on the ground, Tariq Ahmed, who was able to give us this information, so thank you to him.
Don't be shy, just ask.
moving again?
And as you can see, there you go. It's clear that the police have acted quite quickly there. They have obviously stopped the march because it does make sense to deal with the incident. And again, the march has continued, and we will be going back to Chris Banbury very, very shortly. In fact, we can go back to him now.
Hi, where have you come from today?
Hampshire.
Hampshire?
Yeah.
So in the south of England?
Yeah.
And what brings you to London to demonstrate today?
Well, I'm just appalled that our government is completely ignoring international law, that they are still continuing to arm Israel when that's basically the most effective lever that we could have to try to persuade the Israeli government to desist from killing people unnecessarily.
And I mean, they have rescinded some arms licenses to the Keir Starmer government, but I mean, they're continuing to sell the vast majority of those things are still being sold.
Well, they're still selling the parts and bits for the F-35s, aren't they? So, I mean, I just think it's not just that. It's the whole language, the language that says Israel has a right to defend itself, when actually Israel it's a bit like saying the Russians have a right to defend themselves in Ukraine. Yeah. It's a ridiculous statement under international law, and the ICR ruling, International Court of Justice ruling, the other day. The British government has a responsibility to stop supporting Israel because they have been ruled to be in breach of international law.
And I mean, we've seen a change of government, and it has done. Some arms sales have stopped. UNRWA, the funding has been restored, but it's not much, is it?
Nothing at all, really. Effectively, the more or less unconditional support for Israel carries on.
And I mean, you look at the global picture, I mean, it's now only a handful of states, United States, obviously, Britain, Germany, who are giving that unconditional support to Israel. The majority of the world, I mean, the majority of governments of the world, like South Africa, Brazil, and so on, are opposed to this. And yet, that's not the picture we seem to be presented to in the media here.
I think the media here is basically parroting pro-Zionist propaganda and completely ignoring the views of the majority of British people who think that we should be demanding that the Israeli government stops and telling them that if they don't, then we will withdraw our support.
Thank you very much for joining us, and Godspeed to you on the way back to Hampshire. And I think we're going to be joined by another guest here. Hi, where have you come from today to join us?
Gillingham in Kent.
Gillingham in Kent.
Yes.
So come up from Kent, we get people all over the country. Yep. I'm asking everyone this. What brings you onto the streets of London today?
Because there's an ongoing genocide that's been documented now. Well, since October the 7th, but we know it goes long back than that, since 1948, and it's still... Anytime you go online, you're still seeing children bomb, families losing their siblings losing their parents. We're still having to repeat the same messages we were 11 months ago. Like, these people are being killed in their homes. There's no safe zones. They're being told to go to one area and then they're being bombed. And it's just, we're going to keep going until the message finally gets through. I think, it's probably the 20th protest since the October the 7th, and at some point, we're just going to have to keep going and going until the message gets through, and there's a ceasefire, and then beyond that there's a permanent end to the war we're seeing in the Gaza region, and Palestine is free.
Can I just ask you, the British government has stopped some arms sales to Israel, but it's still selling, the majority of those arms are still being sold, including parts for the fighter planes carrying out direct attacks in Gaza on families. How do you feel about that?
Well, if they're suspending 30 out of the 350, if they're suspending 30, that's an acknowledgement that Israel are going beyond their means. They're using it for purposes that I guess we're not selling it for. So that's an acknowledgement by the British government that Israel are acting against international law. So why are we still not suspending the full licenses? I don't understand. They've acknowledged, it's an acknowledgement that Israel are in the wrong here. I guess it's a half measure, but it's not going to stop anything. So it's ridiculous. Governments, only spending 30 out of the 350. So yeah, it's just a joke.
Thank you very much, and God speak to you on the way back to Gillingham.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah, and we're catching up though, so we're going to have to put a spot on as we come down to the Albert Hall with various, and I can see more and a crowd joining outside the Albert Hall who seem to be waiting to join the demonstration. So we're passing many embassies here. I mean, this is an area, I think that's the Austrian embassy. Some of the Iranian flag there. So various embassies here in this in Knightsbridge, and the police seem to be saying that it's one of the most peaceful demonstrations they've been on. So despite all the attempts to portray this movement, as I remember Suhail Braverman's famous description of it as hate marches, this is one of the most peaceful demonstrations. And large numbers of children on the demonstration, large number of pensioners, disabled people. It's a great mix, but it's just obvious, I've said it before, but there's not a hint of hatred here. There's not a hint of violence here. This is peaceful, it's united, and it's composed. And, there's no way, just no way you could say this is a hate march. There is no way you could say this demonstration is looking for trouble. So I think, that answers the critics of the failure here. Yeah. And there's a young man making his voice heard over there. He can only be 9 or 10 and so confident, so articulate. I think that's one of the things, this young generation is growing up. These are going to be the leaders of the future. And they've got an understanding of the world, which sometimes puts some of the older ones to shame. So, really good to see them. Hi, where have you come from today?
I've come from London, East London.
East London?
Yeah.
We saw great votes in East London for independent candidates in the general election, standing in support, among other things, but standing in support of Gaza. Did that give you hope?
It did give me hope. One thing that did disappoint me was our local Labour candidate, Pfizer. She was a local Labour candidate who was deselected at the last minute, which is a real shame because I think she had a good chance of winning. Unfortunately, because of that step that was taken, we didn't get a result because the votes were split between Labour and the independent candidate, Pfizer. And therefore what happened is the status quo remained.
Yeah, but she got a good vote.
She got a good vote and she got a very good support from the community. People knew that she worked for the community. She did a lot of stuff, so it was very good, yeah.
And since then, of course, we've seen the election of a new government. The new Starmer government has restored funding to UNRWA. It has stopped some, I keep saying this, some arms sales to Israel, but not the majority. What hopes do you have in this government?
I'm hopeful. At the same time, I'm a little bit pessimistic, only because I know the reality. I'd like to think that they're going to do a lot more. They've already done stopped some of the funding. But it's clear that, if a country is committing plausible genocide, then really we should stop funding them. We should stop supporting them.
I mean, Keir Starmer is a international human rights lawyer. He must know this, surely.
This is a bit baffling, to be honest. To be honest, over the last few years, even with the Conservative government, what's been really disappointing is who are so-called lawyers and people who should know better. My kids say, hold on a minute, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And if the kids can see the hypocrisy, then why can't adults, professionals see that?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, my kids, teenagers, came on the big demonstration in November under their own steam. I mean, they wouldn't come if I asked them. I think it gives us hope that there's a young generation which seems to have an understanding of actually the real way the world operates.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if we go back to the basics, where's the humanity? There's children elderly being killed, hospitals being bombed, universities. Come on, where's the humanity? Where's the, this is basics. I think people who see that, they know that, hold on, something's not quite right.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
Hi, where have you come from today?
Hello, I'm Lithuanian.
You're Lithuanian?
Yes.
And what's the feeling like in Lithuania over this?
Well, there's a small group of people who understands what is happening. Sorry, but in general, the government, they are really like with Israel.
Yeah.
So it's very sad.
But I mean, ordinary people in Lithuania have got some idea of what occupation means, haven't they?
Yes, exactly, indeed. But they are very misinformed. They are very misinformed. Yes. And those who find out, they stand with Palestine. But it's a process. It's a process.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the West put sanctions on Russia for its criminal invasion of Ukraine.
Yes.
They haven't done so with Israel. I mean, it stinks of hypocrisy, doesn't it?
Yes. It's such a shame, and it's just. I come from Lithuania. We really believed in like Western values, and we're so happy to break, from the Soviet Union, gain our independence, and it's just such a shame because after like now 34 years, we see what's happening, and it's just double standards, and it was all a lie basically.
I mean, it's a shame. I mean, people in Lithuania took to the streets for their independence against the Soviet Union. It was an inspiring moment. I mean, you must have been very young, but I remember it. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of those dreams, they have been reduced to ashes, haven't they?
Yes, exactly, yeah. So my whole family, we stand with Palestine because, my mother's uncles, they were freedom fighters in Lithuania. So I support freedom fighters of Palestine. That's simple as that.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for joining us. That's an interesting voice from Lithuania. And now I'm joined by one of those young men you heard being very articulate on the megaphone. Where have you come from today?
I've come from Leytonstone.
Leytonstone?
To speak up for Palestine. It's a disgusting genocide. And regardless if you're old or young or whatever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you live, we should all come to the streets.
And what's your feeling like at your school about this?
They're very tolerant to pro-Palestinians. They let us wear Palestinian badges, Palestinian scarves, whatever you want. We even had a Palestine protest there once. But they're good.
And is this your dad?
No.
It's not my son.
Ah, right, okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And I think it's interesting, I was saying that you're the hope for the future. It's your generation. You and your friend, you seem to be very knowledgeable, very articulate. It gives me hope, and I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that everyone coming here. And it starts from the younger generation, because our generation is going to be tomorrow's future.
Well, I look forward to that, and I look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
What a polite young man as well. What a real credit to his parents and his family. Very articulate. I mean, as I say, he must be 9 or 10. But good heavens. He can speak and he can articulate what he believes in. That is the hope for our future. So we're now moving towards the Israeli embassy. We won't be able to get into the small sort of Mews type road on which it sits. That'll be sealed off. But we will be holding a rally outside on this street, which the Israeli embassy will be able to hear. So we'll make our noise felt. They make sure the Israeli diplomats hear that we're outside. Large numbers. So we're coming towards the end, and we will be carrying the speeches at the rally which will end this demonstration. As I say, I mean, this has been another huge turnout. The 16th, I think I said 17th, but I believe it's the 16th national demonstration in London, and large numbers coming out every month. And this, it costs money if you're coming from outside London. They have to raise money to pay for the coaches. You have to, it's going to cost you to eat out and so on. And yet people are coming every month. And next month will be 1 year on, 1 year of a genocidal war in Gaza. And I'm sure there's going to be a huge demonstration here in London on that day. I think it's the 12th of October, one of our guests said earlier. Bombing for peace is like occupying for freedom, says a placard, homemade placard over there. I love the homemade placards because it's the feeling that individuals, they make these placards and it gives expression to what's in their hearts. So bombing for peace is like occupying for freedom. That's a fantastic message to be carried coming through. We're passing the Dutch embassy at the moment. Lots of embassies and consulates in this part of the world, and we can see the final stage here outside on the road outside the Israeli embassy in the beginning of Kensington High Street for those who know London. There'll be huge support here. Local people, I mean, big Arab population in this area. Many people will be supportive of this, people from Lebanon, Morocco, Egypt and so on, living here, working here. So they'll be joining in. And if you look in front of me, you can see this huge screen, which is where from where the people and speakers will speak. And there's music being played, so the noise is going to increase as we get down towards the end of this demonstration. And we'll look forward to hearing what the figure is from the organisers. Usually the CEO of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Benjamin, we spoke to earlier, announces the figure. But it's certainly another huge turnout again today. And here we have. Where have you come from today?
I'm from here, from London.
From London, which part?
Limehouse.
Limehouse in East London.
Yeah, East London.
And I mean, we saw great votes for independent candidates in the general election campaigning for a ceasefire in Gaza. Yeah. 5 were elected. Does that give you hope?
No, definitely. To be honest, I was hoping for even more, but obviously people are slowly getting the message. A lot of Labour and even Conservative lost seats for independent candidates because people are not being listened to. So it's definitely something positive. So yeah, I'm hoping maybe even the current Labour candidates are basically in Parliament will recognise that and start to basically make a move on the back of it.
And again, a question about, we've seen this new government stop some arms sales to Israel, but it's continuing to, the majority of those arms sales are continuing. What do you think of that?
Yeah, because there's a lot of MPs in the government that are not actually representing the people, they're representing the special interest and the corporations. They basically, lobbying is the biggest problem in this country. The moment we get rid of lobbying, this corrupt system that we call lobbying, then we'll have the MPs representing the people themselves. But until then, it's going to take a bit of hard work to make sure that they actually start listening to the people.
Thank you very much. Godspeed you really back to life. Now Wasim, we've come to the final end of the rally. We'll be hearing. I'm going to pass over to you because it's getting a bit noisy. There's music playing. I can hardly let myself think. So Wasim, from me, Chris Banbury, here outside the Israeli embassy where the rally is going to start shortly. I'll hand it back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Chris. There we saw Chris again talking to a number of different people, and a really important point right at the end there. Obviously, they're going to be getting the speeches done soon, so they're going to be gathering for that, and we will obviously bring you all of those particular speeches as well. But one point that was really interesting there at the end was this issue of lobbying, was this issue of how much does your vote really count if all of a sudden it's overtaken by external voices and external influences that can pay for access to particular MPs and can ask them to put views forward. This is obviously a major issue in the United States. It's also a major issue here as well. But there are so many different things and so many different aspects to this particular issue, which we'll try to unpack as the day goes on, and I'm sure that they'll be brought up in the speeches as well. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we will be back after these messages.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater. A greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of self-worth, a life with less questions and more answers.
The National Qira'ah competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head-to-head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the Excel Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qira'ah champion, only on Islam Channel.
Welcome to The Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us.
The National Qira'ah competition is back and is better than ever before. Each week, contestants will go head-to-head with the final taking place at the prestigious Global Peace and Unity event in the Excel Exhibition Centre. Come and join us live as we find the new National Qira'ah champion, only on Islam Channel.
You will never understand why you're here if you don't know the one who brought you here. You will never understand why you were blessed with this if you don't know what it means to be a blessing yourself. But if we constantly dwell on what we feel like missed us, we may be missing out on something far greater. A greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of self-worth, a life with less questions and more answers.
Tune in to Islam Channel for our new program, Eye on India, delving into the stories shaping India's future. We will explore the history, culture, and the evolution of Indian politics at the resurgence of Hindu nationalism.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people. Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people. Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people. Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
National March for Palestine. For 11 months, British-made weapons have poured down on the peoples of Palestine and Lebanon. For 11 months, we, the global solidarity movement, have united in support of the Palestinian people's struggle. Day after day, week after week, we have gathered to send a message so loud that it can be heard in every corner of the world. And after 11 months of genocide, we gather again today with a message for Starmer's government. Our determination to break the murderous connection between our government and Israel's genocide is only growing stronger. We are here to say that there can be no justice at home as long as British weapons, British factories, and British politicians enable the most unimaginable crimes against humanity. At every step, we have faced growing repression from the British state and from the police. The police tried to stop us from marching as we had planned towards the Israeli embassy today. Well, here we are once again in our hundreds of thousands. Our movement will always fight back stronger. And there is nothing that any politician or police officer can do when they are faced with the This week, thousands of children and education workers across the country returned to school after the summer break. And as we did so, we held in our thoughts the 15,000 children in Gaza and over 400 of their teachers who will never return to school. Everything that we do as part of this movement is for them, for their friends, for their siblings, and for the next generation of Palestinian children. A generation who will never know the sound of a bomb falling. A generation who will return to their family homes. And a generation who will love and learn and one day bring beautiful new life in their liberated homeland. Our movement will stand with Palestine until liberation and return. And we must not forget that we are moving closer and closer to that day. And when it comes, it will be a victory not just for this movement, but for every movement that fights for human rights and for dignity anywhere in the world. The day that Palestine is free is the day that all of us are free, because the Palestinian people fight for each and every one of us. In our thousands, in our millions, in our thousands, in our millions, and in our millions, in our billions, in our millions, in our billions. Our first speaker today is the MP for Poplar and Limehouse. Please give a very warm welcome to Ipsana Begum.
Every day, every hour, more atrocities are being committed in Gaza. Israel is also expanding its military operations in the occupied West Bank. The difference in the value placed on human life globally against the value placed on Palestinian life is very clear for all to see. What is happening in Gaza challenges the very notion of the commitment of Western powers to human rights and dignity. Because what they have been willing to do is not only turn a blind eye, but actively facilitate their ally, Israel, to pursue their foreign policy interests. So this week's announcement from the government may be a step forward, but for the 41,000 plus civilians killed by Israel, supported by the UK, it is too late and it is too little. For those in Gaza now suspending less than 10% of the UK's arms licenses to Israel is simply not enough. All arms and supporting technologies going to Israel to be used against civilians must be stopped. We need justice for what has been done. That must not only include an immediate and lasting ceasefire, it must also include an immediate and unconditional recognition of the state of Palestine. We will continue to come together for as long as is needed. We will continue to hold power accountable. The Palestinian solidarity movement is diverse and it is multicultural. It is a cause of humanity and hope in defiance of the scale of what is happening. We stand together on the right side of history because our struggles for liberation are connected, because none of us are free until all of us are free. Free, free! Free, free! Thank you in solidarity.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Our next speaker is the General Secretary of PCS, the union, representing over 200,000 public sector workers in the UK. Please give a very warm welcome to Fran Heathcote.
Friends, it is a pleasure to bring solidarity from my union, PCS. I'm immensely proud that PCS has for many years led the cause in the trade union movement in demanding peace and justice for the people of Palestine in Gaza and the West Bank. And we have been absolutely clear. Until Palestine is a free and independent nation, we will continue marching, we will continue protesting, and we will continue to back the a boycott, divestment and sanctions. I want to pay tribute to everyone who has made the protests so large against war crimes and ethnic cleansing that we are witnessing in Gaza and the West Bank. And let me tell you, I've just walked up through the counter demonstration. It is tiny. We cannot be bystanders, though. We cannot walk by on the other side. 57 years of illegal occupation, decades now of settlement building and ethnic cleansing that goes with it, and the atrocities of Israel's Gaza onslaught in which over 40,000 people have been killed. But our government has stood by. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said he believes in the international rule of law. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, supports the International Criminal Court as a cornerstone of the international legal system, whether that's in Ukraine, Sudan, Syria or Gaza. Well, if you believe in the international rule of law, then you apply it. And if you respect it, then you follow up with action, not just empty words. The horrific reports coming out of the West Bank in recent weeks demonstrate what happens when you turn a blind eye and you condone war crimes. Netanyahu and the terrorist settler movement have been empowered to extend their ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. There is no moral or legal case not to ban all arms sales to Israel immediately. We are complicit. We are complicit just as a dealer who sells a knife or a gun to a common criminal is complicit. When the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for war crimes against Benjamin Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, then we should be asking our government, where is the full arms embargo? Where are the sanctions? When the International Court of Justice rules, as it did in July, that the Israel occupation of Palestine is illegal, that Israel must dismantle its settlements and provide full reparation to Palestinian victims and facilitate the return of displaced people, again, we should be asking our government, where are the sanctions? Where is the arms embargo? Where is the expulsion of Israeli diplomats? PCS members work in government departments that grant weapons licenses. And if the government doesn't respect international law, we will continue to explore the possibility of taking legal action in defence of our members. So we will continue to campaign and support campaigns to change and toughen government policy. But as successive governments stand by, as Palestinians are murdered, it is we, the people, our councils, in our workplaces and as individuals who have to speak out, protest and campaign. And that is why PCS is so proud to support a people-powered campaign of boycott, divestment and sanctions against the state that has illegally occupied Gaza and the West Bank for 57 years and that is committing war crimes on a daily basis against Palestinian people. And that is why my union is proud to support the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. We will continue to campaign for an end to the killing, an end to the occupation and the dismantling of the settlements and a free and independent Palestine. Solidarity, comrades.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Now our next speaker needs no introduction. He's the Palestinian ambassador to the UK. Please make some noise for Hossam Zomlot.
My God, what a sight! What a sight! What energy! What a vibe! What a sense of unity! What a sense of humanity and justice! My friends, 11 months of war crimes, of mass murder, of mass destruction, 11 months of genocide. And here we still are. And Israel still murders with impunity. And the world still watches in horror and in impotence. But my friends, horrendous the last 11 months are. This is not just about the last 11 months. It's about the past 76 years. It is about the last 76 years. It is about a Zionist project that wielded lies, like a land without a people for a people without a land. Demanded exclusive ownership over our land, over the land of Palestine. This ultimately resulted in the ethnic cleansing of 2/3 of the Palestinian people from our land, our homes, our farms, our lives in 1948. Ever since Israel was allowed to act with total, utter impunity. From its illegal military occupation of the rest of Palestine in 1967, through its illegal settlement project, its brutal military suppression, its abhorrent apartheid rule, through it all, Israel has never, ever been held to an account. And that is why we are where we are today, my friends. That is why we are all witnessing genocide committed by this country that has enjoyed full impunity. Watching an Israeli genocide unfold in Gaza for genocide and mass destruction that is now spreading to the West Bank. My friends, Israel has no plan that includes the Palestinian people. Israel has only one plan: the complete erasure of the Palestinian people. Listen to what Netanyahu says when he says that his proudest moment is to prevent a Palestinian state from emerging, when he vows to expand the illegal colonial settlements at speed. Read their government coalition agreement, where it says all the land of historic Palestine, including the West Bank, is described as the exclusive right of people. It is, my friends, a vision of indefinite occupation, of continued Jewish supremacy, and continued dehumanization of the Palestinian people. And it is a vision of constant violence, constant murder. It is a vision of ethnic cleansing, and now it is a vision of genocide. But for 76 years, Israel has failed. Israel has failed. It has failed. It has failed to eradicate us in 1948. We are here. It failed to destroy us in 1967. It failed to wipe us out in Lebanon in 1982. And despite the horrors of the genocide in Gaza, it has failed to erase us from Gaza. And it will not succeed. It will never succeed, because we will not let it succeed. You know why, my friends? Because we, the Palestinian people, are stubborn like the ancient roots of our olive trees. We refused, and we will continue to refuse, leaving our land. إنا باقون كما بقي الزعتر والزيتون. As the thyme and olives remain, we remain. We remain in Gaza. We remain in Jerusalem. We remain in Jenin. We remain in Tulkarem. We remain in Khalil. We remain in Yafa. We remain in Haifa. And I tell you one thing, the more than half of us in exile, and many of them with you, the Palestinian refugees and diaspora, remain holding in our right to return to our homes and farms. And that Israel will not succeed also because of you. You, the hundreds of thousands, the millions, the tens of millions, the billions in the world. Because of your principled position, because of your consistent energy and action, and in your thousands, in your millions, in your thousands, in your millions. And we are also supported by the law. And you all followed the ICC. Israel's occupation is unlawful. Israel's settlements are war crimes. Israel need to leave. Leave now. Now. And my friends, all third parties, that is the International Court of Justice ruling, all third parties must end any political, legal, and material support to Israel's illegal occupation. This, my friends, means the following, the ruling of the International Court of Justice. It is we, the Palestinian people, who have the right to self-defense. We have the right to self-defense, not the occupier. Every act that Israel takes in the occupied territory is an act of aggression. And every country that does not heed the ICJ is complicit. Complicit! All we ask of the British government is that it complies with the law, with the British law, and with the international law. We need a full arms embargo now. What do we want? What do we want? We need sanctions now. What do we want? What do we want? We demand accountability. What do we want? What do we want? And we need recognition now. Recognize now. What do we want? Only then, my friends, we ensure that we finally on the irreversible path to a free. Thank you.
Free! Our next speaker is the General Secretary of the National Education Union, here today representing over 500,000 education workers in the UK. Please give a very warm welcome to Daniel Kebede.
This week, many children across the UK and in many parts of the world return to school. For the children of Gaza, there is no such respite from the relentless war that has blighted their young lives for almost a year now. Palestinians place a high value on the education of their children and young people. 625,000 children in Gaza have been denied their inalienable right to education since October the 7th last year. Now we are in a second school year in which there is no prospect for peace, no prospect for returning to school, no respite from the relentless bombardment that has terrorized their young lives. Scholasticide has taken place in Gaza. The destruction of all education structure with the deliberate targeting of schools and universities and the indiscriminate killing of children and their teachers. Almost 10,000 school children have been killed, along with over 400 of their teachers. According to NGOs working in Gaza, 93% of their schools, which have specific protections under international law, have sustained damage. 156 UNRWA schools have been hit directly or damaged, despite the fact that many are providing refuge for displaced people. All of 12 of Gaza's universities have been bombed, leaving 88,000 students unable to continue their education. 90% of the Palestinian population displaced. Over 40,000 killed, 94,000 injured. Many more missing beneath the rubble. How long must this be allowed to continue? We need a ceasefire now. The ICJ has ruled that there is a credible case that Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. The UK must now ban all arms sales to Israel, not merely the token number announced by the new Foreign Secretary David Lammy last week. My union, the National Education Union, will continue to stand up for the Palestinian people. We will continue to advocate for the rights of children and the right to education. Free Palestine!
Free! Now, I'm really pleased to bring you our first estimate of the number of people that are out on the streets today. And in the crowd today, there are at least 125,000 people. Our next speaker is here today representing the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, one of the co-organisers of today. Please give a very warm welcome to Sophie Bolt.
Thanks very much. So yes, solidarity greetings to you all from the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. I want to say a massive thank you to every one of you who's on this protest today. For nearly 11 months, you have kept up the pressure, calling on our governments to secure a ceasefire, to stop supporting Israel, a nuclear-armed state, waging genocide against the Palestinian people. It is our incredible determination campaign that has forced this new government to take action. So well done to you, renewing the funding for UNRWA. That's on us. Stopping the legal challenge to Netanyahu's arrest warrants by the International Criminal Court. them. He has been forced to concede that Israel is violating international law. So now we have to redouble our efforts. We have to force this government to stop all arms sales to Israel. Especially the deadly F-35 fighter jets. We know these lethal fighter jets have massacred people in so-called safe zones. And we know that US fighter jets and pilots based at Lakenheath here in Britain actively bolster Israel's deadly war and occupation against the Palestinian people. Let's keep up the pressure to make this government end its complicity in genocide. We refuse to be silenced. We refuse to stop marching. We will not stop until there is a ceasefire, until there is justice and freedom for the Palestinian people. Free, free Palestine! Thank you, solidarity.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea! 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 I want everyone to put their flags and their placards high in the air when we chant, from the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! From to the sea! And in our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Thousands in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? But it's not just a ceasefire that we want. We want to see a complete end to the arms sales to Israel, not 30. When I say stop bombing Gaza, you say stop arming Israel. Stop bombing Gaza. 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 Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Now our next speaker is here representing Stop the War Coalition, one of the co-organisers of today's demonstration. Please make some noise. The National Officer of Stop the War, Shabir Laka.
Comrades, sisters and brothers, today marks 11 months of Israel's genocide. This week, the government admitted what we always knew, that British weapons are being used to butcher Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Yet, they have suspended less than 10% of arms licenses. And David Lammy, boo, made it clear that this is not an arms embargo. Well, why the bloody hell not? What will it take for you depraved warmongers to stop arming Israel? Let us be clear that they have done even this tiny bit because of us. If it was up to the police, we wouldn't even be here right now. They have tried to disrupt and restrict every one of our protests. If it was up to them, we wouldn't be the Palestinian flag and we wouldn't be allowed to chant from the river to the sea. That the government is on the back foot, that we have 5 pro-Palestine independents in parliament now, that the police had to back down and they stand here today utterly humiliated, is because we have a united, defiant mass movement that has stood firm, that has insisted on staying on the streets, and that is why they can't stop us. Every time that we demonstrate, we are stopping their attacks on our right to protest, and we are showing the British state that we are a force to reckon with. We are the voice of the majority, and this is what democracy looks like. It is not that multi-millionaire Islamophobe Nigel Farage or that Nazi scum Tommy Robinson who represent the working class. It's us. Because working people know that the same people that claim that there's no money for winter fuel payments for the elderly, that there's no money to scrap the abysmally cruel 2-child benefit cap, there's no money to fund our NHS, there's no money for non-flammable cladding on Grenfell. These are the same people that have endless money to send weapons to Israel. They have endless money to send weapons to Ukraine. The only black hole, Keir Starmer, is in your humanity. So we will keep marching. We will take the fight to the Labour Party at their conference in Liverpool on the 21st. Our students are planning to walk out in October, and we will be back on the streets of London in the biggest numbers on the 12th of October. And yes, we need to do more. We do it by getting organized. And I urge you all to join the Stop the War Coalition and ensure that our movement is organized, united, and in the streets, in every community, in every trade union, in every town and city. Because I'll tell you this, and I'll end with it. These are our streets. It was on these streets that we won all of the rights that we have. And it is on these streets that with a Palestinian flag in our hands and a keffiyeh around our necks, we will break British imperialism. And we will boot out every morally bankrupt politician that is facilitating this genocide out of political life. And we won't stop fighting until all the arms sales have ended, until there is a ceasefire, until that terrorist Israeli ambassador has been expelled. And we won't stop until Palestine has been liberated. So keep fighting, stay on the streets, solidarity.
Thank you, Shabir. Free, 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 free. Our next speaker is someone who has been campaigning against apartheid for decades. He's the founder and chair of Friends of Al-Aqsa, one of the co-organizers of today's protest. So please give a very warm welcome to Dr. Ismail Patel.
Assalamu alaikum. Over the past 76 years, Israel has been systematically dehumanizing the Palestinian people living between the river and the sea. This dehumanization process has made it possible for the genocide in Gaza. The dehumanization of Palestinians by Israel and its allies depicts Palestinians as animals, vermin, and dangerous Muslims. It has created an atmosphere where Palestinian lives do not matter. This narrative enables Israel to kill with impunity innocent children like Mahmoud al-Dura or Hind Rajab. It is also this Israeli dehumanizing narrative that is used to justify the violence against Palestinians worldwide. The Palestinians, in their resistance to the dehumanization, yearn for justice and freedom. The Palestinian struggle is to recover their stolen humanity. However, despite the military power, when Israelis failed to have an ounce of sympathy for the killing of more than 40,000 Palestinians, Israelis dehumanize themselves. When Israel celebrates the raping of Palestinian prisoners, Israel dehumanizes itself. When Israel records selfies of blowing up homes and torturing children, Israel dehumanizes itself. When Israel composes encouraging genocide, Israel dehumanizes itself. It is therefore our responsibility to restore the humanity of the oppressed Palestinians. We must stop the oppressive Israeli state and its powerful allies from continuing this barbarity, because it is only in Palestinians gaining their humanity that Israel can recover its humanity. It is because of this that the majority of the worldwide population don't want to be part of Israeli dehumanizing circus and are saying, from the river to the sea. To me, my friends, this slogan means people of faith and none between the river and the sea can reside free of racism, free of subjugation, free of the apartheid wall, free from the siege, free from the terror. We must continue saying from the river to the sea until Israel stops dehumanizing itself and robbing Palestinians of their humanity. Because of this, it is the only way we get our humanity. So let the slogan from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, ring from every city, every town, every village. Let it be a means of empowering our humanity to end Israeli inhumanity and to reclaim Palestinian humanity. So please repeat after me, from the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is the MP for Hayes and Harlington. Please give a very warm welcome to John McDonnell.
I just want a few sentences of calm sadness. We've watched over this nearly a year now all the pictures of suffering in Gaza and now on the West Bank, the people being brutally murdered and the loss of children's lives, and behind that, so many now maimed. We've sent our solidarity, we've sent our sad grief to all those who've lost. But in addition, there are a group of people as well that we need to pay tribute to as well. There have been peace and solidarity campaigners who've gone to Palestine, who've gone to Gaza, who've gone to the West Bank in solidarity. And over the years, many have lost their lives. I want to pay tribute to another. You will have seen on Friday that an American-Turkish national, her name was Aysenur Erci Eci. She was a 26-year-old young woman. She was a member of the International Solidarity Movement. She mobilized people to go to the West Bank in particular and stand alongside Palestinians to protect them as best they can from the attacks from the settlers and from the Israeli Defense Force. On Friday, she did that. And she was shot in the head. She was taken to the hospital near Nablus, and she died. I want us today to pay tribute to the heroic courage she displayed and to send to her family our deepest sympathy and condolences for what sacrifice she made for peace and for justice for the Palestinian people. But I also want us to reassure her family and all those families of Palestinians that have suffered and lost members of their family, that we will bring to justice these war criminals who are perpetrating these crimes, and that includes Netanyahu, who is a war criminal that deserves justice against him. Finally, let me just say this. I want to just say thank you. Thank you for everybody who's mobilized week in, week out in this campaign. You have shifted this government, not far enough, but you've shifted it with your determination. And I want to thank you because you've given me one of the proudest moments of my life, just to walk alongside you. Solidarity.
There we are, John MacDonald, and we've also heard a number of different voices heard there, Hassam Zamlot as well. We're going to go to a commercial break and we're going to come back to those speeches as well. So join us for the second set of speeches after these messages.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
Pick of the Week has returned. Come and join us each week as we showcase the best highlights from our daily programming at 5:30 p.m. every Sunday on Islam Channel.
Tune in to Islam Channel for our new program, Eye on India, delving into the stories shaping India's future. We will explore the history, culture, and the evolution of Indian politics at the resurgence of Hindu nationalism.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hardworking people.